What happens when gospel power meets reality TV royalty? No one saw it coming, but when Le'Andria Johnson confronted Shaunie Henderson, the raw truth she unleashed turned into one of the most shocking public clashes of the year. The words, the emotions, the fallout. This wasn't just a disagreement. It was a takedown so explosive, it's got everyone talking. And after hearing what was said, you'll never see either of them the same again. Le'Andria Johnson has never been one to shy away from the spotlight. With her raw, unmatched vocals, fearless honesty, and at times, headline-making lifestyle, she's become both a gospel powerhouse and a lightning rod for controversy. On the other side stands Shaunie Henderson, reality TV royalty, a sharp-minded businesswoman, and a woman known for never backing down when challenged. So what happens when two bold, uncompromising forces like this cross paths? Sparks don't just fly, they explode. And that's exactly what has everyone talking right now. The clash between Le'Andria and Shaunie has quickly become one of the most talked about showdowns, not just in gospel circles but across the entertainment industry. Fans are calling it dramatic, messy, and potentially career-defining. But here's the thing, this isn't just about a heated exchange of words. In this video, we're unpacking the full story, what really led to the confrontation, the shocking moments that left people speechless, and the deeper reasons why this feud carries so much weight. We'll dive into the history, the hidden tensions, and the ripple effects that are still shaking both gospel and reality TV worlds. And trust me, there's more to this than meets the eye. Beneath the headlines lie details and motives the public hasn't fully pieced together yet. At its core, this isn't just a spat, it's about reputation, power, and the fight for respect. Stick with me, because what you're about to hear will completely shift the way you see both Le'Andria Johnson and Shaunie Henderson. To really understand why this clash with Shaunie has become such a bombshell, we need to rewind and look at who Le'Andria Johnson really is. If there's one thing about Le'Andria, it's this: she has never been afraid to live in her truth, no matter the cost. Her story is the perfect mix of raw talent and raw honesty colliding in the spotlight. She stepped into the gospel world in 2010, bursting onto the scene as the winner of BET's Sunday Best. From that very first performance, she didn't just sing, she poured her soul into every note, making people feel her pain, her joy, her faith, and her struggles all at once. It was undeniable. This wasn't just another gospel artist. But here's the catch. With a gift that powerful also came a microscope. Unlike many gospel singers who polish their image to perfection, Le'Andria never played that game. She chose transparency over perfection, openly admitting her battles with drinking, voicing frustrations with the church, and even calling out the politics and pressures of the gospel industry itself. That fearless honesty is what made people fall in love with her, but it's also what put her at the center of some of the industry's biggest controversies. And it's that same bold spirit that makes her clash with Shaunie Henderson so explosive. Some admirers praised her sincerity, while others chastised her for being too real for the pulpit. She has struggled throughout her career with this conflict between her calling and her candor. She has had viral moments that garnered media attention for all the wrong reasons, such as when she was caught on camera ranting about church culture while sipping a drink. However, she has also produced timeless songs, like as her Grammy-winning album Jesus Saves, demonstrating that her anointing is indisputable even when her humanity is on full show. Le'Andria's ability to defy expectations has always been one of her strongest traits, and although it has won her millions of devoted followers who believe she is the most accessible gospel performer in existence, it has also won her detractors who believe she embodies a risky, overly honest approach to preaching. Put a lady with that kind of personality, one who doesn't back down from speaking her mind, in a room with Shaunie Henderson, a dominant figure in reality TV, who manages storylines and silences critics. And you can see the tension building already. The problem is that this confrontation wasn't unexpected. There's a backdrop here, a sequence of incidents that led to this startling encounter. And you'll know why Le'Andria lost her temper the way she did once you hear what was simmering beneath the surface. We also need to look more closely at Shaunie Henderson in order to understand why this confrontation went astray. She is well known as the ex-wife of Shaquille O'Neal, the NBA legend. However, she is much more than just a basketball wife. Shaunie made a name for herself as a successful businesswoman, reality TV producer, and a well-known public figure in religious communities. Shaunie is well known for being the executive producer of the popular VH1 series Basketball Wives. It was more than just a show, it turned become a phenomena of culture, bringing together the actors, creating plots, and transforming behind-the-scenes drama into primetime ratings gold. Shaunie was the mastermind behind the operation. She has always been perceived as a lady who is adept at handling conflict, shaping narratives, and maintaining her composure despite being in the center of it. However, Shaunie's path has changed in the last few years. She has repositioned herself as a first lady and spiritual partner since entering into her marriage to Pastor Shaunie Henderson. The lady who had previously flourished in reality TV drama was suddenly entering the pulpit realm and adopting a new persona that combined faith, influence, and glitz. Some found it to be uplifting, a new illustration of how God can change anyone. Others questioned if Shaunie would be able to really escape the drama of reality TV. This is where the conflict with Le'Andria Johnson starts to develop. Consider two strong females. One is a reality TV tycoon who has spent years perfecting the technique of dominating the spotlight, while the other is a gospel musician who defies church doctrine. When Le'Andria was apparently invited to an event related to Shaunie and Pastor Khan's ministry circle, their worlds came crashing down. The mood was charged from the beginning. Shaunie is a symbol of structure, organization, and image control. On the one hand, presentation and maintaining control and polish are her top priorities. Le'Andria, on the other hand, is unvarnished, unadulterated, and uncooked. She doesn't mince words, and you'll hear it straight from her if something is bothering her. Insiders claim that what started out as a dispute over authenticity and respect swiftly descended into chaos. Le'Andria reportedly felt disregarded because her contributions and presence weren't given the credit they deserved. This touched a nerve for a lady who has battled to have her voice heard both inside and outside the church. However, it was claimed that Shaunie thought Le'Andria's actions were inappropriate, disruptive, and unsuited to the situation. Le'Andria's unreserved honesty was the exact kind of energy that ran counter to Shaunie's style, who takes great satisfaction in upholding order and dictating how events unfold. Two ladies with quite different views on life, religion, and public personas are now involved. And the stage was set for a fight that people are still talking about when those worlds intersected. What actually transpired during that confrontation, however, is the true question. What exchange of words caused witnesses to describe it as one of the most startling events they have ever witnessed? The details of that clash will leave you speechless, so stay tuned. Let's go on to the main topic of discussion, the actual confrontation. This went beyond a simple argument or brief verbal interaction. This was a raging collision of reputations, values, and personalities, according to some in attendance. Long after both women had left, the room was still buzzing from the scene. According to reports, it happened during a well-known ministry function that Pastor Shaunie Henderson was hosting, and Shaunie was acting out her part as First Lady with her usual poise and elegance. There was a sense of tension in the air, despite the elegance and spirituality of the setting. Expectations were extremely high, and prominent figures from the entertainment and religious sectors were present. Le'Andria Johnson, who had been invited as a guest and might even perform, entered with her characteristic audacity. She was there not only to sing, but also to speak for her truth, and she was dressed to stand out, but there was an undercurrent of conflict from the beginning. Later, other guests claimed that Le'Andria felt ignored or denigrated, as though she were being treated more like an outsider than a valued visitor. When Shaunie, who is renowned for her abilities to maintain order and handle crises, apparently said something that offended Le'Andria, things became heated. Witnesses concur that it had to do with Le'Andria's reputation and whether or not she was suitable for such a high-level religious event. However, accounts differ on the precise phrasing. At that moment, Le'Andria let loose. She apparently retaliated with fervor and unvarnished candor, denouncing the hypocrisy she perceived in the space. She declared that she would not allow anyone, whether or not they were famous, to doubt her value, her purpose, or her right to be there. Witnesses reported that the energy in the room changed abruptly as her voice rose above the throng and her remarks sliced sharply. Never one to back down, Shaunie refused to back down. She reportedly reacted with her typical poise, upholding the event's standards and making it apparent that she wouldn't put up with what she saw as disrespect or chaos. As a result of this back and forth, visitors were murmuring and some even took out their phones to record brief glimpses of the action. According to rumors, Le'Andria once said that too many powerful people conceal their true hardships from the people in the pews behind titles and outward appearances. She challenged the entire mentality of prioritizing appearance above genuineness by speaking to the entire room rather than just Shaunie. For those who have followed her career and are aware that she has always stood for unvarnished openness, often at personal expense, her remarks were particularly powerful. In response, Shaunie reaffirmed the significance of order, respect, and leadership in the ministry. She reminded the audience that not everyone's strategy fits with the responsibility that comes with influence. This wasn't just about one singer's feelings, in her opinion. It has to do with preserving some dignity in a religious context. According to reports, organizers had to intervene to defuse the situation since it became so hot. According to some, Pastor Khan himself made an effort to defuse the situation by telling the two women that they were in a place of worship. However, the harm had already been done. Everything else that was going on that night had been overshadowed by the confrontation. It was more than simply the intensity and acerbiveness of the comments that made this moment so memorable. The symbolism was the cause. Two strong black women, each with considerable influence in their own right, are standing on equal footing, refusing to compromise, and highlighting the conflict that frequently arises in religious settings between appearance and authenticity. Here's the twist that caused even more discussion afterwards. People who were there said there was conflicting vibe in the room. Others applauded Le'Andria for speaking what so many people are scared to say aloud. Others took Shaunie's side, arguing that she was correct to preserve the event's honor. This conflict became a full-fledged controversy because of the divided response. Here's the worst part though. They left, but the altercation continued. Indeed, the fallout might have been even more startling than the altercation. When two well-known women, such as Shaunie Henderson and Le'Andria Johnson, argue in public, the conflict doesn't end there. It pours over, spreads quickly, and soon everyone is analyzing the headline. This is precisely what took place. Whispers became heated online discussions within hours after the altercation, and social media erupted in flames. The people in the room had the initial wave of reactions. Participants started posting cryptic clues without identifying themselves on X, formerly Twitter, and Instagram. "I've never seen anything like that at a ministry event before," other people wrote. Some said, "Two queens went at it, and I'm still in shock." These ambiguous yet intriguing messages sparked interest right away, and fans and gossip sites began searching for specifics. The story had gone viral by the next day. Everybody jumped on it, putting their own take, including blogs, YouTube channels, and gossip pages. While some platforms lambasted Le'Andria for causing drama in a place of worship, others applauded her for having the guts to challenge what she perceived as leadership and hypocrisy. The tale lasted much longer than anyone anticipated because of the polarization that characterized the storyline. Fans showered Le'Andria's sites with encouraging words. They referred to her as the voice of the people, the prophet who doesn't bow, and even the realism in the gospel game. Her supporters responded that she merely expressed what many churchgoers already believe, which is that church leaders frequently put control and appearance over genuine ministry. This was not a scandal to them. It was a moment of truth-telling breakthrough. People who appreciated Shaunie's poise, however, showered her with support. Shaunie has consistently maintained her composure while standing her position, according to Basketball Wives fans who have followed her for years. This time was no exception. In the eyes of her followers, Shaunie was upholding the dignity of the house of God, order, and respect, exactly what a first lady ought to do. The entertainment sector also had an impact. Some gospel insiders expressed open concern about the impact this might have on Le'Andria's reservations. Would she be too dangerous for pastors and event planners to invite? Or would they view her as a magnet, someone who will undoubtedly garner attention, make headlines, and let's face it, sell tickets? Shaunie's detractors question if her status as a reality TV star conflicted with her position as First Lady. Was she merely refusing to let anarchy to reign in the church, or was she carrying that same controlling spirit with her? Then the memes appeared. The incident was turned into viral content by social media users. On Instagram and TikTok, Le'Andria memes with the message, "I said what I said," went popular. Shaunie's composed demeanor, on the other hand, was transformed into a reaction gift that represented someone standing their ground. Those who might not have previously known who Le'Andria or Shaunie were were introduced to the story by the meme culture, which kept it popular. Perhaps the most intriguing aspect of the fallout, however, was how the episode prompted awkward discussions in both mainstream and gospel communities. Church members started arguing about whether should be more important, order or authenticity. Others claimed that the church needed more people with voices like Le'Andria's, who would be able to cut through the show and speak the truth. Others maintained that chaos reigns when there is no leadership or order, and that's precisely why we need leaders like Shaunie. Both teams reportedly went into damage control behind the scenes, according to insiders. According to reports, Le'Andria dismissed the incident in public, but privately defended her statements to close friends, saying she had no remorse. Shaunie, on the other hand, took the high road by concentrating on constructive ministry work with her husband, Pastor Shaunie Henderson, rather than making overt pronouncements. However, the consequences persist. The debate between entertainment watchers and gospel enthusiasts continues to this day. Did Le'Andria overreact, or did Shaunie misjudge the person she was interacting with? And the more important question, maybe, what can be learned about the current state of the church from this confrontation? Because this is the one thing that is obvious. These two women's relationship was more than just a personal one. It served as a metaphor. It dealt with the conflict between unadulterated sincerity and stage presentation, between breaking chains and upholding tradition, between speaking the truth and keeping the peace. People are still discussing because of this. It's easy to become engrossed in the drama when you take a step back and observe this intense argument between Shaunie Henderson and Le'Andria Johnson. The furious statements, the audacious postures, the startled responses. In actuality, though, this incident involved more than just a disagreement between two influential women at a ministry function. It has to do with something far more significant. It dealt with the escalating conflicts in the church, the gospel music scene, and even the intersection between pop culture and spirituality. Let's start by discussing the church. Church spaces have been meticulously maintained for many years. A certain image, one that is polished, orderly, and scandal-free, is expected of leaders, particularly pastors and first ladies. Someone like Shaunie Henderson flourishes there. She has experience managing narratives and the power of image, having come from the realm of reality TV. She is a symbol of leadership, stability, and respectability as the first lady of a well-known church. Here's the issue, though. The same focus on appearance frequently leads to pressure on everyone to behave flawlessly in church. And it might feel like a prison to folks like Le'Andria Johnson who don't want to hide their humanity. Transparency has been the cornerstone of Le'Andria's entire ministry. She has publicly acknowledged her difficulties, errors, and annoyances with institutionalized religion. She essentially advocates for the average Christian who feels ignored, condemned, or silenced by the customs of the church. Therefore, her confrontation with Shaunie was more than just a personal one. It served as a metaphor for this conflict between two church visions. On the one hand, leaders feel that the ministry's integrity is safeguarded by the disciplined, orderly, and image-driven approach. On the other hand, the unvarnished, unadulterated truth that highlights the church's shortcomings while also making it relatable to everyday people. This incident struck a deep chord because of this. It was not just a dispute. The contemporary church was held up as a mirror. Let's move on to the gospel music sector now. There has always been a delicate balance between entertainment and evangelism in gospel music. On the one hand, it's about sharing the good news of salvation, hope, and faith. However, it is still a business that creates celebrity personalities and sells books, records, and live performances. That tension is expertly embodied by Le'Andria Johnson. She's controversial even though she is unquestionably anointed. She makes news in addition to selling records. She is viewed by some as the unadulterated, unvarnished gospel of the future. Her excessive blurring of the boundaries between the sacred and secular is viewed by others as a peril. Even though she is not a gospel performer, Shaunie is a powerhouse at the nexus of ministry and entertainment. Controlling drama is an art form on reality TV, where she established her empire. She is now applying the same media acumen to the church in her role as First Lady. Some claim that this crossover contributes to the modernization and expansion of the church's influence, and they applaud it. Others fear that by transforming ministry into a platform for performances, it diminishes its holiness. Their conflict therefore affects more than simply them. In the era of social media and celebrity culture, it begs the question of what gospel music and ministry should look like. Should artists and leaders put authenticity first, even if it causes discomfort? Or should they conceal some facts in order to preserve the church's reputation? Afterward, there's the culture of reality television. Fundamentally, Shaunie Henderson is a master of reality television. She oversaw Basketball Wives, a program centered on strife, altercations, and dramatic situations, for many years. A public altercation is practically inevitable in that world. It keeps people talking and increases ratings. However, that same energy causes pain when it enters a church setting. Churchgoers aren't accustomed to witnessing such frank conflict between leaders and guests, particularly in a place of worship. Ironically, though, the same culture that disapproves of it in the sanctuary is obsessed with it on the internet. That's why this altercation went viral so quickly. Social media and reality TV have conditioned people to consume drama, and it gets even more interesting when that drama breaks into the chapel. The sacred and the sensational are two worlds colliding, and it makes us wonder, is reality TV just highlighting what already exists, or is the church becoming into another venue for reality-style entertainment? Let's wrap up by discussing women in leadership. This conflict also brought attention to the particular difficulties faced by women in positions of authority, particularly in settings like the church where men predominate. Shaunie and Le'Andria both wield tremendous power, but they do so in rather different ways. Le'Andria leads with unadulterated passion, openness, and vulnerability. Through poise, self-control, and presentation, Shaunie sets an example. Both strategies have merit. But when they conflict, society often pits women against one another rather than appreciating the strengths of both leadership philosophies. The public was obliged to confront the disparities at this time. Would a confrontation between two male pastors have been seen as messy theater or as a daring discussion about church culture? Another layer of prejudice in the way that female power is viewed in the world is revealed by the speed with which people label female leaders as catty or out of order. Both the entertainment industry and the church. This is ultimately the larger picture. Shaunie Henderson versus Le'Andria Johnson was more than just a fight. It was an earthquake of culture. It sparked discussions on the gospel industry's balance between ministry and entertainment, authenticity versus order, the impact of reality TV on the church, the treatment of women in leadership roles, and whether viewers enjoyed, detested, or found it uncomfortable. There is no denying one thing. It sparked conversation. People were compelled to choose a side. Additionally, it exposed the fault lines that have long been subtly dividing the industry, the culture, and the church.